Tell me when we're all up. Good? All right. So happy New Year to everybody. I just got back from Belize. I was actually diving with sharks. If you look on my Instagram, I dove in with like hundreds of sharks, the way to start the new year. But I'm super duper excited because I have Jenn Brown here, and we just figured out I've known Jenn for like 12 years. And I've watched her career just explode. And she has been a real trailblazer in a lot of ways for her industry. If you haven't seen her on TV, that means you don't watch sports because she's all over. But I'll give you a little bit of background on Jenn. So she actually played 7 sports at Bishop Moore High School, and she broke the record for the most varsity letters for men or women in the school history. She is a 2-time Emmy Award winning newscaster. She's a Division I athlete. She played softball, although she played 5 other sports in high school. She was a Division I softball player. She's also the first woman correspondent for Inside the NFL, and I'll have her tell you a little bit about that and how that happened. She recently sidelined for American Ninja Warrior, and she has some really big news on a new future project that we'll tell you about at the end. Now, the reason we started doing these is, LEAP is going to be this summer, July 23rd to the 29th at UCLA. And kind of every year after LEAP, when we get 400 students from all over the world there, they tell us that their favorite part of LEAP was the mentor workshop. And Jenn has been a mentor in our workshop, and this year at our 10-year anniversary of LEAP, we're going to have Jenn actually get on the main stage, which is something she's never done before, and speak to everybody. But the idea of these little Facebook Live interviews is not just for me to interview Jenn, but for her to really give you kind of the inside scoop on how do you do it? If you're sitting at home right now, or you're sitting in your dorm room tonight and you're watching this and you're wondering, like, I really want to get into sports broadcasting, how do I do it? So without further ado, let me introduce Jenn Brown, and let me just ask you, how'd you get into it?
Gosh, it's so funny because with my story, it's not a typical story for people in our business, especially nowadays. But for me, I had no intentions of being in sports broadcasting. I had no intentions in being on television even. I wanted to be a lawyer. I thought I was going to go to law school. I had applied to law schools. I was a criminology major. So for me, it was just this one pivotal moment that I got an opportunity that I couldn't pass up, and I made a big decision, and I went for it. And so, my first opportunity was actually in a travel show. I was doing a little like modeling and acting and working with Under Armour in between what I thought was going to be college and going to law school, and ended up in an opportunity on a travel show, and they said, does anyone want to lead us into the next segment? And I was like, I like to talk. I don't even know what that means. And they gave me the opportunity, and after that he said, hey, look, I've been looking for a host for a new show in LA. Would you be interested in doing it? And I was like, I'm on my way to law school, and I didn't even take journalism in school. And
so wait, you had no acting, no training, nothing. And this was the travel show on HDNet.
On HDNet, yep. Yeah.
And they just threw you up and said, go for it.
Go for it. And it was, what was great about that job, obviously, it was just going around the world. I went shark diving.
Wild on E, right?
Wild on E. I shark dove in the Bahamas, but like all kinds of really great, cool experiences. So it wasn't that I needed to have like a hard news journalism background for that particular job, but it was just this go and be you. And so I was like, go to law school right now or get paid to go travel around the world. And I went for the other one, knowing that I could always go back to law school. And and then my path and my career just kind of went this way. And I'm very pleased and I feel like very blessed with how things have turned out.
So you start on this travel show, and your real heart was in sports.
Sure.
How did you transition from that into the NFL?
It's a great question, because you wouldn't think that those two things really would, merged together, really. But it was something that I knew once I started doing television. I started getting more comfortable. I said, okay, you know what? Sports is my passion. You talked about all the sports I played, softball in college, and my parents were Olympic gymnastics coaches, so I grew up around sports. And that kind of goes to something where you want to find your passion, right? You're passionate about dentistry, you do marketing, right? So you do what you love, and so that was for me. I said, okay, how do I get to sports? And it really was, okay, let's start meeting some people, let's start networking, let's start figuring out how I can best put myself forward in that industry. The way I ended up getting a job with, interestingly enough, on Inside the NFL, I was the first ever female they've ever had on the show, was because I had worked with someone on a travel type show, and you know, I worked hard and I left an impression on them, and then they recommended me when this opportunity came up, and then once I got that, it was just like no looking back. I was like, okay, sports is where I want to be, it's what I want to do. And just,
was it like a screen test, or was it like you're just going out and doing it?
Interestingly enough, it was, and this may be something we'll get to, I imagine, later on in the interview, on my advice to people, because it was something where I had worked on a job with a producer and I had left an impression on him, so that when he was in a situation and someone said, hey, look, I'm looking for a female in this role, do you have any thoughts? He goes, I've got the girl for you. And so it essentially was a phone call that said, hey, HBO is moving, it has let go of Inside the NFL, it's moving to Showtime, they're looking for a female correspondent, would you like the job? And it was something like that. And so, interestingly enough, the majority of my jobs in this business have actually come more from opportunities like that than having to go sit in front of an audition and put myself on camera and things like that. And it's because of, you know, that impression that you leave, which is, you know, goes back to my advice.
You know, this is one of the things we talk about at Leap too, is people don't realize it, but in the workspace, in your personal life, everything you do, you're on stage.
Sure.
People are watching you all the time. They're evaluating you. They're kind of determining like who you are, what you are, and all that. I mean, go to Disneyland. Mm-hmm. You will never see Mickey take his head off and smoke a cigarette on the bench. You know what I mean? Like, you'll never see a character without their head on. That's behind stage. So everything you do, people are watching and evaluating. And relationships, talk about how important they are.
So it's funny that, I mean, because this is when I go and speak and I talk to kids who aspire to do our business, and I usually give two pieces of advice. The first piece of advice goes back to how I got started, which is when you get an opportunity, you want to try and do as much as possible. Be the person that's there first, be the person that stays late, offer to carry the tripod, offer to help set up the lights, ask questions, talk to the producer, talk to the editor. Try to learn as much as you can, because first and foremost, that's so important. But the second thing is, go and try to work hard and leave a lasting impression. Because my goal is that when anybody worked with me, I wanted them to walk away and say, I want to work with her again. That it was such a great experience, and that my ethic, my hard work, that it was a lasting impression. And so here's this little quote, and I think it's relevant in a lot of things in business, is usually people say, it's who you know, right? It's who you know in the business to get opportunities. But I like to take that a step further. It's not just who you know, it's who knows you. And that goes back to, if someone knows you and they remember you and you leave a lasting impression, that's where opportunities can come from. And
you're right.
Amen. That's what I say.
I mean, listen, image is everything. And, you know, one of the things I really try to get across to a lot of you young students is, be careful what you post.
Sure.
Be careful what you put on social media, because I know that there are people that go and apply for jobs and they don't get them because, you know, people look on their social media and they think they're wild party animals and things like that. Your image is the most important thing.
Absolutely, and I give that advice. I have little brothers and sisters, the same thing. I said, you know, you guys are in a different time now. You guys feel like you have your own, you know, reality show, and you're documenting your whole life as you go, which is great, but you need to be smart. And they used to say at ESPN when we were there, because when I was there, Twitter was just kind of taking off. I mean, I was an early adopter. I was definitely considered one of the first people to really embrace social media in our workplace. But they always said, don't put anything on social media that you couldn't have on the ticker at the bottom of the screen on SportsCenter, right? So anything that you say, anything you do, don't make sure that it would be okay that whatever it is going across the ticker, the primetime sports center. And that's, what kids, you guys should think about and really remember, don't do something.
Don't post any picture you don't want your father to see.
On Sports Center or on, E-News or wherever it might be.
Totally.
Exactly. So, and that's, and going back to the whole, leaving that lasting impression, that's one of my favorite things that you guys do at LEAP, when you do the mentorship. For those of you that haven't attended, you guys work with these kids all week long, which is so amazing. And then you do this on Friday, right? This big, Dr.
Mentor
here,
workshop.
The mentor workshop, he brings in, of course, a lot of people. Look at him. Of course, he knows everybody in this town, but he brings in so many people, like hundreds of people. I feel like this room, I just look and it's just people everywhere of the top in their industry. And what a great opportunity for these kids that are attending to have that opportunity to make those relationships, to leave a lasting impression.
Well, you were telling me earlier you had a great mentor, and that really helped your career. Let's talk about that a
Sure,
little bit.
absolutely. So like I said, I didn't have the most conventional path getting into television, and especially sports broadcasting.
And especially a woman in sports broadcasting.
Absolutely.
There were a lot of things
Absolutely.
that you were fighting against.
Absolutely. And so for me, not having been a journalism major, for me not having been, or a communications, the typical route that one would take, and also having the experience of working in their college and covering sports. So I got this opportunity where it's like, bam, you are inside the NFL, and bam, you're going to be on Thursday night football. My first sideline gig is on Thursday night primetime football, and it was scary, and I appreciated the trust and the faith that the NFL and ESPN had in me, but for me, fortunately, there was this amazing person, Bonnie Bernstein. She was, you want to talk about trailblazer, she was like she is really someone that I looked up to, and really, it was just amazing that then we met at an event, a leadership event, and she came over and introduced herself to me, and we had a similarity in gymnastics because she was a gymnast, and she just introduced herself, and we started talking. And then as that relationship developed, she started giving me advice. She was just really someone who kind of just stepped in, and it wasn't typical in our business. It really wasn't to have women, because there wasn't a lot of us, and unfortunately, it was a sad part of the business is that it was competitive, and so you would think that everybody would be welcoming you with open arms and encouraging you, but it wasn't always the case. And so it was just so nice. And she mentored me. We talk at least almost once a week, once every other week. She's the reason why I came up with the business that I'm starting to live with later. But I was so blessed and fortunate, and that is so important in any career path, is to find someone that I always say, find someone who does what you want to do, and go talk to them, and go try to intern with them. Ask them if you can, whatever you can do to spend time with them to learn. It's so valuable in any business.
And that's the most important thing about the whole mentor experience. So let's say, I'm sitting here, I'm watching you, and this is my passion. I really want to do sports journalism. Where do I start?
Where do you start? Okay, well, first I would say it doesn't matter how old you are, right? So first and foremost, if you're in middle school, if you are in high school, if you are in college, go start practicing. You can, with cell phones, look, we're broadcasting from a cell phone right now. With Facebook Live and Instagram Live and YouTube, you can create your own channel. Just start practicing, because I can tell you, in this business, the most important thing for putting forward quality work is reps, is practice. Because I can tell you, if you go back and watch my first HDNet show to where I am today, I actually don't go find those. Don't watch those, because and what is that? What is it? It's those reps. It's the constant. The book Outliers, they talk about how you master something. So as much practice, as many reps as you can get, standing in front of a camera, talking, just getting comfortable. Get your microphone, get your brother, get your best friend, hold the phone, and just practice. That would be my first thing, absolutely. Next thing is, if you're in middle school, if you're in high school, college, go try to find some, if it's school news organization, or create one. If you don't have one, go to your school and say, hey, look, I want to do a weekly show that I'm going to talk about our sports for the week, and I'm going to go and interview our football players and our wrestlers and the girls volleyball team, and just start practicing. You can create it. Tell them that you're going to do it. You can get a friend to hold the camera. You can get somebody who wants to learn editing. Again, it goes back to those reps, and the more experience that you have, the better you will be. And when you get out of college, when you're ready for those opportunities, one, you're going to have so much more leg up on the people who didn't do that, but also you're going to have made some great relationships along the way, I'm quite sure, and you're going to have amazing reel to be able to show, hey, look, I've got the chops to do this. And that's what, I mean, that's the most important thing, right? When someone's going to hire someone in the broadcasting business is, one, do you know your stuff? You want to make sure it's not a world of looking pretty anymore. Like, you need to know your sports, you need to know what you're talking about, and two is, how good are you on camera? What can you do? And the best way to show how good you are is to show them what you've done. So that would be my advice. And then, I think a journalism major is great. I didn't have that. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary, but if I could go back and do it again, I would absolutely do that.
So what do you love most about what you do?
Gosh, I mean, there's so much. Again, when you do something you love, right? You wake up every day and you just feel, you kind of like, there's these pinch me moments of like, do I really get to do this every day? I love storytelling. I love taking an athlete in the most important moment of their career at that time, if I get to be there and telling that journey, that story of how they got there. I love the underdog story. I love the overcoming adversity story. But there are moments, when I'm just sitting there and I'm at the Super Bowl and they're holding up the Heisman, or the Super Bowl trophy, or the Heisman trophy, or the national championship, all these amazing opportunities that I get to be there and cover. And it's just to feel like I don't feel like I'm a part of it, but to be able to experience the most amazing moment for that person in their career at that point is such a unbelievable opportunity. And I just feel so, like I said, blessed that I get to be a part of that and see that and experience that.
Throughout your career, being a trailblazer and being one of the few women that actually cover sports on TV, how did you get over some of the men that might have tried to get in your way?
Well, I would say I didn't have too many bad experiences, which is great. Nothing that I even feel like is even worth mentioning. But I will say is that, you have to be confident and comfortable in who you are. And I think that's the most important thing. And I've seen where people have succumbed to the perils of social media. And I'll be the first to admit that I initially would do that. I'd go and do a football game, and then I'd be on Twitter and I'd see, what did I make a mistake? But then I learned that, people, kind of sit behind, they would call them the keyboard warriors. They just sit behind and they'll, oh, your forehead's too big, or your hair's not right, or your shirt's not right, or your boobs could be bigger. I mean, like, you get the worst of comments, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this for me. And as soon as you can kind of flip that switch and realize, have confidence, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Yeah, you're gonna make mistakes, but you grow and you learn, and you just don't, try not to make the same mistake twice. And so, it's so encouraging now. I think that, we've certainly come a long way in terms of females in this industry. I still think we do have quite a long way to go, but I am impressed and encouraged to see the opportunities and how many women you do see on TV in sports. And hey, sometimes they're a little better than the guys, I have to say, So it's great, and it's encouraging to see where it's come and where it's going.
So where it's going is you're starting up a new business now, and maybe you can share that with us.
Sure, I'll give a little snippet, only because, as I've done this, I get reached out to a lot from people who say, hey, I'm in school, how do I get your job, or how do I get an agent? How do I pitch a show to a network? What should I expect? It's my first sideline job, and I have no idea what to expect. And so because of that, I started to realize, instead of me just interacting and sending emails, and my knowledge is only limited to my experiences, and over the years I've had the opportunity to cover so many different sports and work for so many different networks. I said, I want to let people have the opportunity to kind of pool my relationships and give back their knowledge. And so I created, it's called The Art of Broadcasting, and it's really, it's just going to be a website I'm going to do interviews kind of like this, and talk
Yeah.
to people about how they got started in the business, their advice, and just really, just for anybody who aspires to be a broadcaster, to be a place that they could go resource, a community, mentorship, coaching, things like that, to learn about the business that can hopefully help them bridge that gap when they get out of school and they're looking for that first job, or they're in their regional market and they want to get to an ESPN, that kind of opportunity.
So is this like started or about to start, and how do people contact you to be involved in this?
Sure, perfect. Theartofbroadcasting.com is the website right now. It's built, but it's just we haven't launched it, so they can sign up for our newsletter, which will notify everybody when we're going to go live. But in the meantime, we're going to start doing some interviews, and yeah, so I would say you'll look for it in the next couple of months. We're just getting everything finalized, and I'm really excited about it. And then, of course, you can always, at Jenn Brown on social media, or Jenn Brown TV on Instagram and Facebook, and JennBrown.com and all of that. But I'm excited about it, and hopefully when I see you guys in July at the next Leap event, I'll be talking about how successful it is.
Well, and you know what? Who would be a great interview for you? And one of our big Leap supporters is Apollo Ono.
Oh yeah, great.
Do you know Apollo?
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, let's get Apollo.
Has he been there before?
Yeah, he spoke last year. And
that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's amazing.
That would be amazing. And then, like you said, and really it's just as many people, everybody's had different experiences to get where they are. And if, I always say, if you can learn from someone else's mistakes and not have to make them yourself, it's always a great way to not have to. Exactly, right? Exactly. So, well, awesome. I'm excited about July, and I'm always so amazed. And maybe I'll take this little moment, because you can't always talk about yourself on these, but I just want to say it is so amazing, the opportunities of what the Leap Foundation gives to children and to kids. And every day I'm just blown away, every year when I go, to see how much these, I sit down with these kids in the mentoring workshop, and they're so, they've learned so much in that week that I'm like, I want to hire all of you to come work with me, because they're so and to see the growth it's amazing. And I wish that there was something like this for me when I was a kid. And the other thing I love is that it's for kids from all walks of life that aspire to be better, and to get that opportunity to get that leg up in life. And I can't sing your praises. I'm a huge Leap Foundation fan, and so I'm honored to be a part of it.
Well, and it takes a team. If we could flip all these cameras around, you would
all
see
these people.
There's a whole room of people here
amazing.
that work all year long to try and make this the best program in the world. And I think as a team we do it. And I can't thank you enough.
It's my pleasure.
I love you.
I love you. This is so great.
Beautiful little boys and her husband, and you're all awesome. So anyhow, if you want more information on Leap, please go to www.leapfoundation.com. Our summer conference again will be July 23rd to the 29th at beautiful UCLA campus, and we look forward to seeing you. And next week we will have hopefully two amazing speakers coming. I don't want to announce them yet because they're still on the fence, but we may get another one. But every week, I promise you, we'll have somebody great. Dr. Bill Dorfman, over and out. Jenn Brown.
See you guys later. See you in July.
Yeah, you can.